Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. And in this video I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about just a story and kind of share a moment in my World of Warcraft journey, because the thing is obviously waiting for season 3 and just kind of working on things, but there's really I think, at least for me, part of the joy of World of Warcraft is sharing all the different memories and things that you have with the game, and sharing the different experiences we've all had with the game. So it's going to be something a bit different. Obviously, maybe people won't like it or whatever, but we'll see. I don't know. I felt like doing something a bit interesting, a bit different. So yeah, basically. So this event, this happened. So let me start with the beginning. When I first started World of Warcraft, originally, I played Warcraft 3. Basically, I played it at a friend's house. Me and a friend that I used to go around to quite a lot when I was young, 6 or 7 years old. I went to his house and I used to play a ton of Warcraft 3. We used to play a ton of defense against defense of the ancients. We used to play a ton of just all the different maps and everything, and the story as well. We actually played the story together. Enjoyed a whole bunch of the custom maps and just had a pretty good time. It was quite a fun experience. And yeah, basically you used to go around to his house, and then one time I went around there. This was in about 2005, and he had just got World of Warcraft, him and his brother. So we basically started playing World of Warcraft together, because I didn't have a PC, so we used to just basically play him and then me, taking turns, and yeah, we played classic WoW, and it was obviously a super fun experience. I think it was probably one of the most fun experiences ever, basically. But yeah, what happened is essentially World of Warcraft was pretty expensive for us in our country, and we couldn't really invest or continue to play the game, or just basically have a good time. So what ended up happening is we had to kind of stop playing. We shifted to private servers and played private servers for quite a while. I think played private servers for must have been around 8 or so years. Pretty much played them all the way into Mr. Pandaria, and a lot of that was because I went to boarding school. It was very difficult because the boarding school's connections wouldn't actually allow me to play WoW official servers, but for some reason I could get onto some private servers through the firewall at our school. So it was a long time before I came back to World of Warcraft in an official sense, which was its own thing. Now, basically, we eventually kind of grew a little bit distant, me and this friend, and I just ended up playing on private servers on my own a lot. I basically just did questing. I think I just quested and leveled elts on all the way through Lich King. You couldn't really do raids or dungeons or anything like that on private servers. It just wasn't something you could do. So basically, just was questing and kind of doing the natural experience. And after a while, I kind of stopped playing, because obviously there's only so much questing and etc. that you can do. So eventually it got to around 2013, and I finally got a job. I left high school. I ended up getting a job and studying at the same time, and just basically having a lot going on. So it was pretty tough, but it enabled me to have enough money to essentially do my own like to have my own World of Warcraft subscription. So it was like a super important, like moment for me, because I could officially finally return to private World of Warcraft, which I think was, one of the most awesome things, like official retail World of Warcraft. During this time as well, I managed to reconnect with my friend, which was obviously very, very awesome for me. It was like a very cool experience, and he convinced me to buy. There was a sale going on, and I ended up buying World of Warcraft, and we basically like started playing the game again, kind of refreshing our experience of World of Warcraft, which I think was really, really awesome. The big issue was that it was kind of nearing the end of Pandaria, and he had a group of friends that he was playing with, and basically kind of just left me to level. So I went and I started with a hunter, this very hunter you see right here. Started with a hunter because I remembered them from my days playing them during the private servers, which had been a while back. So all of a sudden they were not what I remembered. You couldn't really use a melee weapon. There was no, there was no survival kind of hunter spec, that enabled us to do that. So there was like a little bit of like a little bit, but there was a big change for me, in terms of like the actual like content and the units and everything. So it was quite a big like change up for me. I was pretty surprised and shocked to essentially like be playing this completely different character, and I quested my way as always. I didn't do any dungeons. I remember putting int gear on my hunter because I thought that would give me more focus. I was very much just questing and not doing anything productive, but I managed to make my way to Pandaland. Managed to finally get my way into Pandaland. Managed to essentially bring myself into being part of Pandaria and being in that space. And I managed to finish the Temple of the Jade Serpent area, and I was moving into the Krasarang Wilds, and finally I could meet up with my friend and his friends. I could finally meet up with their group. I was finally around their level. I was essentially, able to play with them, and it was around, so I planned to go to hit level, I believe it was level 90 back then. Yes, it was level 90 with Panda. And I remember it was the Thursday evening. So I logged on the Thursday evening. I managed to finally meet up with my friends because obviously we're now all in the same zone, and this was Storm Rage EU, and we all met up, and I had a couple levels to go. So they were going to dungeon, and the plan was that I would get to around level 68 or 69. Then that Friday I would travel to my friends, and I would essentially go to his house for a LAN, and we would hit level 90, and then afterwards begin raids and gearing and dungeons and just the whole experience. And so I ended up leveling. I ended up doing like a whole, like getting to around level 68. I remember it being around 1 a.m. I used to log off at around 1 a.m. I would start work. I would have to usually get up. Back then I lived quite close to work, but I'd have to get up at around 7 o'clock usually. So 7 o'clock I would be in work by like 7:15. It was like one of those get up, shower, put some tea in a mug and head out type of situation. And I remember doing this So I remember like saying, okay, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to, head off. I'll see you guys, later on, and basically, yeah, we'll like meet up later. We'll stick to the plan. And I remember them saying to me, no, well, you know what, actually, like we can totally get you to level 90 now before, before essentially like the weekend. And that way what can happen is we can then, this weekend, when you get to the land in the evening, we can start straight away. We can hit the raids, we can hit dungeons, we can do, everything. So what ended up happening was I said, okay, cool, no problem, that sounds great. How are we going to do it? And they said, well, there are these worms. And on the Timeless Isle, there were these small worms that you could defeat. They were level 89. Now, because I was level 88, the worms dropped a pretty decent chunk of EXP, and their respawn rate was pretty high. I think they dropped like 0.3% of an EXP, like 0.3% of EXP, and they were definitely like quite simple in terms of like killing them. I just basically followed my friends around, and all of a sudden like everything worked out pretty well. Like, okay, cool, like followed them around, they killed them, and then I was basically sorted, I was ready to go. So that was like, okay, cool, sounds like a great plan. Problem was I had to get to the Timeless Isle. That was a exercise in pain because I didn't have flying and none of us had 2-man mounts. So I think I had to end up doing some weird combination of water walking potions, dying from stamina, and just basically continuously running to the zone, which was pretty crazy. So that experience was interesting. Like, that was already a very how can I say, like, tedious experience, and took like a whole hour anyway. So it's really like now 2 a.m. and I'm kind of in the zone where I'm like, okay guys, the thing is like, even if it takes an hour, that's like 3 a.m. and then I'm not really going to be in a great space to go to work. Like, it's going to be 2 a.m. It's going to be 3 a.m. I'm only going to have like 4 hours to kind of rest up. And they were like, nah, don't worry about it. It's going to take super quick. It'll be super easy. So we began killing these worms. And yeah, the XP game was pretty good. But as you can imagine, there were other people that were also doing it. Not to mention, half the time my friends would run off every 5 minutes because there would be a new Timeless Isle rare that would then spawn. And so this process took a bit longer than you can imagine. It ended up being from, it'll take 40 minutes to get your level and a half. I think I hit dinged 89, which was only half a level, around 35 minutes later. So now at this stage it's around Hompas 3. And I'm really, really like at the point where it's like I either go to bed or I just stay up. Like, because at this point, 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep is not going to do anything for me. So I say, okay, hey guys, I'm just going to go, grab myself some, rest. I'm just going to, hook myself up, and then I'll, see you guys. I'll hit you guys up, So I went to go make some tea to try and, basically, I guess, attempt to, get some kind of energy back. And while I was doing so, they continued to level me. So, I went through this process a couple times, and then what ended up happening was essentially, basically, when I got back from making myself some coffee, etc., the guys ended up having me at around level 89.5. And so it was essentially now, 4 a.m. And at this point, I didn't have any real, I didn't have any real like situations in which like I was in for the long haul. You know, I was about to hit max level, so I was like, okay, cool, no problem. Let's stick with it. Went, we hit max level, and great, awesome. It was now like 5 a.m. And so we had the bright idea that, well, since I was up anyway, might as well hunt some rares in the Timeless Isle, because, you know, nothing better than getting yourself some gear as well. And at that stage, Timeless Isle had just come out, or was, you know, kind of the big thing. It was the first of these, I think it was the first ever of these catch-up mechanic kind of areas, and so, yeah, everyone was super keen on it. So I said, okay, cool, no problem. I went and hunted rares for about an hour and a half. I said, okay, I'll get ready for work. I went to work, and if you've never stayed up the whole evening, going to work or like doing anything after not sleeping is the first 2 or 3 hours you don't notice or think that there's anything wrong. You don't have like a sense of, like, oh, okay, this is like, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, you don't feel any of that. So what ends up happening is your body kind of like tricks itself, and you go like, oh, cool, like all sorted. I'm gonna be like 100%. Like I'm gonna be super on top of everything. I'm gonna be like, like I'm fine. I'm not gonna have any problems. And then it just does not suit you. Like you hit a wall. So after like 3-4 hours, you hit like this big wall. I hit a huge wall while I was at work. I basically like quiche out completely. I think the whole second half of the day I was essentially sleeping at my desk, and I had the LAN afterwards. So my friend immediately picked me up from work. He'd loaded in my computer into his car like a couple, hours earlier. He went past my house and picked it up, and I got to his house and I was like, well, dude, I need, I'm going to need to do like a cat nap or something. He was like, nah, man, don't worry, we'll grab some coffee and you'll be fine. And I went and, grabbed a coffee. I was like, okay, cool. I'll just quickly grab one. I'll be fine. And then, again, all of a sudden, boom. Boom. Out of nowhere. Just like, started farming Timeless Isle. Started killing the bosses again. And then we started entering the raids. And it was Mogoshon Vaults. And then it was, just slowly working our way through LFR. And then all of a sudden we were doing dungeons. And then it was like we were all of a sudden, doing the Siege of Orgrimmar on LFR. And like, I'd never done any of this before. So I was constantly intrigued because I could never do any of this on private servers. But because of this, I was not remotely close to sleeping. And at LAN, technically, sleep did not exist. So it ended up being at around 5 o'clock on Sunday morning when I eventually managed to kind of lay down. But at this point, I had now spent, I think, over 2 days being awake. And your body at this point is not in the zone for sleeping. Let's put it that way. You're not in the zone for sleeping. You're not like, now I'm definitely going to 100% sleep. I'm gonna super duper easily like sleep or dose or do anything. And so what ends up happening is like you end up in a situation where it's like, okay, now I'm stuck this way. And eventually I just had to crash myself out. Like I basically had to kind of enter a state whereby I myself was crashing myself out. and it was in the middle of we are actually doing a group run of the one dungeon, and basically I completely 100% crashed. I believe we're doing, I think I'll just double check it here, but I believe I was doing we're doing the Shadowpan Monastery, and I just basically collapsed mid-fight. Like, my eyes closed, hands stripped off the keyboard. We completely wiped, and at that point I think I slept from like Sunday 1 p.m. till like Monday my alarm went off for work, and basically my body went into hibernation. But it was super interesting to, like, for me, that experience of doing so much content and doing so much new stuff, and just like being enveloped by a group of people and playing a game, playing World of Warcraft with friends, like properly for the first time, because I joined groups on private servers, and I played the game, but it wasn't the same. And so to kind of enter this space was overwhelming for me. And I think for a lot of players, their first MMO is like that, and you can get almost lost in this like incredible experience that you don't get anywhere else, of playing with friends and being involved with friends. So yeah, I think ultimately for me, it was an experience I always remember, because I don't think I've ever been that tired in my entire life. But at the same time, it was just a fun, different experience. And I don't think, obviously I'm a dad now and everything. I won't get those experiences again, but I don't think you can ever really create those experiences again. Because you can't recreate that kind of stupidity, but also at the same time you can't make, you can never go back in time and recreate the feelings of camaraderie that you have in your first experiences of an MMO. I think that's why we sometimes can get a bit stuck in them, because it is something we can never replicate, but we always chase. And I think that's something that's pivotal to us. But yeah, that's my story. It's not anything crazy, but it's just something I wanted to share. And I'd love to hear your guys' stories. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.